There was recently a public execution in hip-hop that wasn't in a rap battle either. On a live SDRM, that is. Have you ever witnessed someone enter a ring believing they are the winner and then exit as if history itself had smacked them? Yes, Jim Jones was that person. And the people who were slapping? Oh, simply Benzino, the guy who still believes he controls the culture from a flip phone. And Nas, also known as Godson, the lyrical killer. It was different last night, though. Jim Jones was toasted, roasted, and folded like soiled clothes in a Bronx laundromat in front of thousands of people. You believe that Price Battles was becoming untidy? No. This was a live lyrical genocide. What began as a friendly conversation descended into a full-fledged rap intervention. With Nas essentially telling Jim, "You're a feature rapper in a world of classics. You don't belong here, champ," and Benzo. That man was merely stoking an already lit fire with gasoline. What actually transpired during that live stream then? For what reason did Jim Jones end up looking like an unpaid intern? And why, after all these years of stillness, did NS finally snap? Take out your popcorn. It's a horrible one. For a moment, let's go back to before we analyzing Jim Jones' complete destruction during that now famous live stream helped us of hip-hop justice. This is the setup. Then, Jim Jones, the self-described street general, Dipset veteran. And the person who somehow made shouting into a microphone seem like culture, felt compelled to comment on Nas. Indeed, Nas, the guy who released Illmatic before the majority of these up-and-coming rappers were even born, you know? The pen game that gave rise to whole generations of lyricists. That's nauseous. What was Jim's action? He made the traditional move. He prodded the bear. You see, this whole affair began months ago when Jim casually questioned Nas's influence on modern hip-hop in an interview that no one asked for. Yeah, Nas is cool, but is anyone really checking for him these days? He responded, pausing. Let's all pause for a moment to acknowledge the fallacy in that assertion. That small remark, that passive-aggressive attack on a titan of hip-hop. Yes, it was not overlooked. Not by Nas, not by the fans. And definitely not by the hip-hop gods who, let's be fair, just decided, okay, let's teach Jimmy a lesson. Jim Jones has experience with dispute. Drama is what this man does for a living. The man has been messy, from his personal conflicts, to his breakup with Cameron, to his moment when he pretended to cry about hip-hop and love. He spent years attempting to show the world that he was more than just bald, and we haven't even touched on that. Here's the problem, though. Being revered by legacy is not the same as being relevant through antics. Nas has always been a long-term planner. He's not a ranter. He is not a tantrum-prone person. You can sense and leans back. Thus, when he eventually the internet erupted when he answered with a composed, measured live stream appearance rather than a diss track. Additionally, Nas didn't arrive by herself to ensure that the message was understood. He was prepared. Unexpected support. You double-check the live button and refresh your screen in shock when you see that type of backup. Benzino comes in. Look, you can say whatever you want about Benzino, and I promise you that we have. However, this man brings notes, a grudge, and a front-row ticket to devastation when he wants to be messy. The scene was prepared. Thousands of people watched. Screen captures are rolling, comments are flowing, Twitter is poised to blow up. Then Nas said something. It's surgical, not boisterous or irate. You know, some people confuse volume with value. Just because you shout doesn't mean you have something to say, he remarked, glancing into the camera. Boom, on the Jim Jones front, there was immediate quiet. The sound of the Dipset chain striking the floor was almost audible. Let's now discuss what contributed to the brutality of this live stream moment. Nas wasn't simply showing off how good his lyrics were. It was the ease with which he destroyed Jim's whole identity without ever speaking. He dissected it in detail. Nas received decades for legacy. Nas has hits and classics. influence on culture. Nas contributed to the definition of the sound that men like Jim appropriated. Then he gave the night's coldest line like a genuine surgeon of shade. A hook written by someone else marked the pinnacle of Jim's career. I don't write jingles, I write legacies, not many. And it didn't even get messy at this point. No, that was only the first scene, 'cause Benzino intervened, just as Nas was, leaning back, content with the lyrical open-heart surgery he had carried out. I've been waiting for years to say this, and I could see the smirk on his face. There was a lot of energy. The comments section erupted as he leaned into the microphone and stated, "Look, I've been in this industry long enough to know who's real and who's reality TV. Jim Jones, he's VH1, not hip-hop. Jim was just grilled. Cut the stream off. Get over this, bro. Since Kim wore pink, this is Dipset's worst defeat." The stream had descended into complete anarchy by this time, as if their lives depended on it. Fans were screen filming. Headlines were being prepared by blogs, and it was already being dubbed the year's worst by Twitter. However, let's not pretend that this happened suddenly. For some time, the animosity between Jim and Nas has been simmering beneath the surface. In hip-hop, there has always been that silent division. It's the nauseous versus the Jims, the authors, versus the hustlers, and the thinkers versus the screamers. Jim Jones has always placed a strong emphasis on street cred, fashion, persona, and viral events. Feel sick? Building empires while remaining silent until the situation calls for a microphone. He has been in the cut. Thus, it felt more like a history lesson than a diss when that moment occurred during a random Tuesday night livestream. As if the teacher had finally, Jim attempted to defend himself by getting up in the middle of the class and declaring, "All right, enough cloning. Let's talk real music, but don't get it twisted." He did try. He leaped into the stream with his typical vigor, loud, lively, and full of hold-up, na-na-na energy. However, it was too late. The audience has shifted. The story had changed. Additionally, he appeared more like a man attempting to swim in his own ego than a rapper. This concludes the first portion, because Nas threw another verbal bomb that put an end to everything just as Jim was trying to get better. Just as he was trying to protect his reputation and win back the crowd. And that is precisely where we start the video. In front of a live audience, Jim Jones was clearly shaken and frantically trying to keep his composure. Ladies and gents, that was when Nas decided to reload. He leaned in, cracked his neck, gave the camera that fake street tough look and murmured, "Yo, listen. I respect legends, but don't play with me like I haven't put in work." Work, Jim. You had the same mixtape energy for 20 years. It's not evolution, it's repetition. There's a difference. You could literally feel the audience flinch. Nas calmly responded without missing a beat. It wasn't even battle rap. It was poetic justice served on a live stream platter. As if that wasn't enough, Nas leaned in again and dropped this atomic line. "Your entire discography is what I skipped through to get to the feature." The live stream chat exploded. L+ ratio plus cooked. But wait, this is hip-hop, so when it rains, it pours. Then came the phony investigative leaks, because within minutes, leaked direct messages, industry sources, and anonymous insiders began to surface with stories that made this whole beef move from spicy to downright nuclear. According to a purported source who will name Anonymous A&R, Jim Jones was essentially pleading with several executives for a versus fight against Nas to demonstrate his cultural worth. The messages said, "Let me get nauseous. Bring the streets, I had the crowd. He's too quiet. I'll shake it up." The source claims that executives abandoned Jim on read. There was no reply, no approval, just silence, which just made him look even more foolish in front. He attempted to create a moment and was shunned by the very people he believed would support him. But it gets more juicy. According to another fabricated report, Jim Jones spent over $100,000 on PR, TikTok influencers, and streaming farms in an attempt to increase his relevance after the live stream went viral and against him. The alleged invoice breakdown included $20,000 for phony reaction videos that his sword and the public's unforgiving response. Meme blogs had a buffet. Twitter timelines turned into virtual cemeteries. And some of the phony popular tweets read, "Jim Jones was only a guest in a Nazi and still got evicted." That moment, when you realize shouting Ballin can't save you from getting ethered? Jim's next mixtape better be called Apology Letter Volume 1. Even celebrities joined in, or at least the fake ones were going to pretend they did for this script. Charlemagne, the god, allegedly said on The Breakfast Club Jim had a midlife crisis in real time. It was lovely. Nas entered like a god and left like a ghost. Never miss a nasty moment. Joe Button. On social media, this is why you stay in your lane. Lyrical assisted suicide was what that was. The most scathing that Nas didn't even blink. Jim still pays for studio time, and he argues like a man. Let's now discuss Jim's attempted return, because he wasn't going to accept the loss in silence, as is customary. He reportedly went live from his automobile the following morning because, of course, wearing sunglasses inside, using the most overused term in hip-hop to address his followers directly. You are all aware of it. There are only lessons, not losses. I'm still outside, bro. You're still outside. The streets are now urging you to return inside and reconsider some of your decisions. The drama didn't end there, though. The fans dug in. Old videos of Jim disparaging other legends, belittling K. Razwan, making fun of Talib Kweli, and once claiming in an old interview that Illmatic was overhyped have come to light. Exaggerated. Oh, you mean the record that changed hip-hop's lyrical landscape all by itself? These resurfaced footage fueled the flames and further polarized the public against Jim. For many, this was more than a one-night roast. It was the result of Jim finally making money after years of being looked down upon by the hip-hop scene. In the 48 hours following the live stream, Jim's streams reportedly decreased by 27%, according to purported Spotify sources. Meanwhile, there was a reported 36% increase in NASA's streams. As a nod to the craft of sophisticated destruction, people are going back to see Ether, Stillmatic, and Magic too. The funniest fake event was a meme that went popular that showed a Dipset chain with a fork. One fan page even tweeted, "You came. For a king, you left with a crown made of L's." Jim Jones is left with a sale tag, and the statement, "Available now, slightly used," comes with emotional baggage. Musically humbled, publicly bruised, and digitally clowned. His supporters are attempting to twist it. The culture has already moved on to Nas, who is sipping his green juice and counting residuals, and his staff is in a frenzy, because the consequences take a more severe turn just as Jim makes one more attempt to save his reputation. The aftermath of this live stream becomes even more gruesome on camera, with fictitious business sponsors withdrawing and phony legal threats. Jim Jones logs back on, clearly exhausted. Hoodie Up is making an effort to convey a lack of concern, but it isn't working. "But I'm hurting, bro." He begins with the traditional line for damage control. "You guys are exaggerating things." "I'm not even bothered. I continue to earn money." What did the culture hear, though? "Stop, please. I miss the old days," and I've sobbed 3 times today, because the fallout had already started while Jim was out here attempting to minimize it. First, let's talk about the phony industry outrage. Jim's scheduled presence at a big festival, such as Rap Royalty Reloaded, was discreetly removed from the roster within 24 hours of the live performance, according to an unidentified executive at a major label who is obviously a phony stream. Why? Look, our insider says we booked him out of nostalgia. All we received after that live stream was negative publicity. No one wants to watch a meme attempt to make the news. It went beyond festivals. The gym was allegedly negotiating with a phony sneaker brand. According to reports, a bespoke Dipset collaboration also failed. Because of this, Nas's followers swamped the brand's page with quotes like, "Don't let this man put his name on anything with legacy," and clown emojis. Unless you're winning, corporate sponsors dislike scandal. And Jim was at the moment losing terribly. Then the legal threats started to circulate. Unverified, certainly fabricated sources claim that Jim's legal team considered sending Nas a marine sandist. For what purpose? It was hazy there. It was over defamation, according to some. Others referred to it as humiliation in public. Jim is suing for damages after catching a lyrical fade on live stream. One meme went popular, making fun of Nas. He didn't even reply. He simply shared a photo of a chessboard without a description, and fans understood precisely what it meant. Jim's public relations staff was making every effort to change the storyline. And according to one unnamed advisor, lean into the loss. Take ownership of it. Recognize yourself. The fans weren't having it, so Reddit threads exploded. YouTube commentary channels had a field day. Twitter became a war zone of clips, edits, and breakdowns like Rap CSI and one viral video titled, "Nas Violates Jim Jones Frame by Frame." Breakdown received over 2 million views in 3 days. However, Jim took a different tack, doubling down and claiming that the live stream was edited, that Nas wasn't even saying facts, and that the internet twisted everything. And voila, mistake number 57. It was evident that the culture had taken sides. And Jim wasn't on the winning side. The worst blow of all, though, may have come from the hip-hop community itself. Rappers who had previously shared stages with Jim were either silent or suddenly riding the Nas train. Fake quotes began to appear everywhere. Pusha T, allegedly. Respect to Jim, but sometimes you have to know when to log off and learn. Styles P probably didn't say this, but it sounds fire. Jim tried to out-rap Nas like a lawnmower attempting to race a Tesla. The Lupe fiasco was undoubtedly fake. Supposedly, Jim's